Well, I wanted to welcome all the folks who are tuning in live. And I also wanted to thank you, Caitlin, for taking the time out of your busy day and to meet up this morning or at noon. It's noon for you over in Florida. But without stealing your thunder, I just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure being able to finally meet you. We've chatted online over the past few years via support tickets and email, but it's great to finally meet you. And but it's been really cool to watch you start with super humble beginnings and then growing your online course business to a 7-figure per year business. So like I mentioned, I don't want to steal your thunder too much, but so from what I understand, you got fired in 2011, and that was the beginning of an amazing journey for you. But before we get to that, what job did you have? Where you got fired from? What were you doing?
I was working at a court reporting office here in Orlando, and I started there as a receptionist and just quickly moved up the ranks, especially when they saw that I was an eagle eye and that I was catching errors. And pretty soon I was doing some freelance proofreading on the side, but I moved into the department that actually does the quality control for transcripts before they got to the clients. And then I moved into marketing, which they called marketing. It was actually sales. It was one of those kind of mom and pop shop businesses that they don't know the difference between marketing and sales. And so they wanted me to make cold calls all day. And I'm like, that's not marketing. I want to make marketing materials. I want to write website copy. I want to do all that stuff. And so I was also, proofreading marketing materials and still proofreading transcripts on the side while I was there. So that's how I got my start doing proofreading professionally, specifically for the type of proofreading that Got Proofread Anywhere started in 2014, was working in that office. So yeah, I got fired from it, but it became the stepping stone that I needed. I mean, without that job, without those horrible bosses, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I keep meaning to send them a thank you card, but I, for some reason, don't think they'd appreciate that very much.
And isn't that interesting? I mean, you kind of look back and I mean, I know this is the same for me because I at one time had a day job too. And I look back and I think to myself, I don't think I could ever go back to working for somebody again. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened mentally when you got fired? Because I mean, obviously that's kind of a major event in your life. And then, what did you have to do to overcome that? And this is kind of your why.
It was not an overnight thing. I can definitely say that back in 2011, I mean, gosh, at the time that we're doing this video, it's 2018 now. So it'll be 7 years in August that I got fired. I am a completely different person than I was then. I was making, I think, $32,000 a year at that job. And that was like after 2 raises. So I started even lower than that. And I had this mindset that, I had to have a regular job. I just graduated from college in late 2009. And I had this mindset that I was never going to make more than like $40,000, maybe $50,000 a year. And when I got fired, I was like, okay, well, I can't work in this field anymore because, I don't have a reference, and all this like traditional mindset of like, this is because you go to college and that's what they teach you. You go to college and you get an education, and then there's somebody with a job waiting for you at the finish line. And it's just not the way that works. And bachelor's degrees are just like the new high school diplomas, and MBAs are the new bachelor's degrees. And so it's an antiquated system. And it just wasn't, I was just a completely different person, completely different mindset. And I ended up going to personal training school. It was like a 4-month program, but the 3 weeks between when I got fired and when I started personal training school were brutal. Because when I got fired, it was a brutal situation. I don't have a word other than brutal to use, because I got called into a room and my bosses told me that I was trash, that I make them sick, that I was going to die alone.
Wow.
And it was, and speaking of antiquated systems, it was all because I was finishing all of my work super fast and not spreading it out all day like everybody else. And then I was doing what I wanted with the time. And so in their mind, that was stealing company time. And so they told me that I was a thief and that they could press charges and all this stuff. I was being paid like $16 an hour, I think, for a ton of work that everybody else was taking credit for. And so, but in their mind, I owed them money. And so my boss actually extorted me for $2,000. She said, I'll press charges unless you write me a check. And so I wrote her a check for $2,000, and that was the end of it. But needless to say, I've made a lot more than And that $2,000 because of her. She was the first person, ironically, that gave me my very first transcript to proofread. And so she was the one who kind of taught me how to do what I do or what I did as a freelancer. So it's a very long story, but I'm a completely different person than I am now. I look back at that person. I just got married when I got fired. I've been married for 5 months. And, I mean, my boss even told me, she's like, I feel sorry for your new husband. Is he
Oh, wow.
you are, and you shouldn't have children because you have no morals and all this stuff.
My word.
Unreal. Like, and in some of those 3 weeks in between, you know, going to personal training school, I would look at Ben, my husband's also named Ben. I was like, was she right? You know, maybe I am a horrible person and that's just all I am. I had a very fixed mindset, and I was like, I was depressed, hard to get out of bed in the morning. I was like, what is the point? You know, and it wasn't like I was suicidal or anything, but I'm like, I had this fixed mindset that nothing was going to change and there was nothing that I could do to make my life better. But obviously I was wrong.
Wow. That's insane. Yeah. I can't imagine my boss telling me that. I don't know. I probably would have had a different reaction than you, but I can't believe that they actually said something like that. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible.
I mean, I did break the rules, and so I admit that I was supposed to be fired. In fact, I already put it in my notice for later, like I think the next month or something. I given them more than 2 weeks notice, but when they found out the way I was spending my time, despite having gotten like 2 weeks prior, I got like a 5-star review for my productivity. They were like so happy with my work and my, you know, attitude and demeanor, and all the people in the office love me and all this stuff. But when they thought I could have been doing more for the same amount of money, they felt like I was cheating them in some way.
That's horrible.
Their policy was, if you get done with your work, you have to do other people's, and people were catching on to that. And so, you know, people were just purposely, you know, doing their work as slowly as possible because they knew that somebody else would do it if they didn't finish. And I was like, not buying into that system. Like, no way. I caught on real quick.
But isn't that interesting? I mean, like, you know, you say yourself, you were very productive, and it's like, if you think about it, like you were being productive for somebody else. What if you just redirected that? And I'm sure that I know that's exactly what you did. And many entrepreneurs, that's exactly what they do. I know that's exactly what I did. I was fired from a job too. But I probably deserved that one. And I had a few other jobs after that. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was just sick and tired of the way I was, you know, living life and doing work. And I just redirected that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, I know you're a master at proofreading. You're a master at proofreader. In fact, truth be told, I was a little conscientious about this interview, making sure that I speak properly and, you know, that sort of thing. But tell me about starting your first course, Proofread Anywhere. Tell me a little bit about that. Yeah.
So my husband had gotten the bug for entrepreneurship before I did. I was a freelance proofreader, and that's eventually what I did. I thought that I was going to be a full-time personal trainer and just use proofreading to cover, you know, fill in the gaps or whatever. But eventually I realized I liked proofreading more, and it wasn't that I didn't like personal training. It's just that I learned how to do it with an iPad. And so that was a game changer when I figured out how to do that. I could take it anywhere. I could download the transcripts and read offline. I could get the work done on my own time and my own location. It was just fantastic. I loved it. And people were starting to ask me, you know, how did you get into doing that? And I taught a few people, and one of two things would happen when I taught like a handful of people. And one of two things would happen. Either one, they would, because I wasn't charging them. So they would just like take all the information and then they would do nothing with it. And that was the most frustrating thing ever. I'm like, you know what you can do with this information? Instead, you just like toss it aside like it's worth nothing, you know, because they didn't pay for it. Or there's a few people that took the information and they saw how valuable it was and they took action on it and it changed their lives. So one of my, the last person I trained one-on-one, her name was Victoria, and I met her in like an Ecuador expats Facebook group because Ben and I were planning on going to South America for a year, living on my proofreading income. And at that time when we had planned Proofread Anywhere, it wasn't even a figment of my imagination. It was like September 2014. And then November 2014 is when we launched Proofread Anywhere. So was training somebody one-on-one, just out of the goodness of my heart. Like I wasn't like, she was like, how do you do what you do? And I told her, and I just kind of trained her. But she became my first testimonial when I finally wrote an ebook. So I didn't even know I could start an online course when Proofread Anywhere started. But Ben, my husband, kept like kind of poking me, and he's like, oh, so-and-so did this and made $100,000 in 4 months. And I'm like, that'll never happen for me. That's just so, and now meanwhile, $200,000 a month is a regular thing for our business. But at the time, and this is not even 4 years ago, I thought, $100,000 in 4 months is a ridiculous amount of money. That's a pipe dream. And I didn't even want to try. But when Ben told me that he had a friend that made like an extra $1,200 a month, just $1,200 a month,
Right. Yeah.
teaching an online course, I was like, okay, maybe I can do that. So after we had the ebook and we sold it to maybe 15, 16 people, I started thinking, well, how can I turn this into a course? I don't know how to do that. And I'm sure you have run across this a lot in your work, Ben, but people saying that they don't know how, and because they don't know how, they don't learn, right? And so I was that person.
Yeah.
I was saying, I don't know how to write an ebook, so I didn't. I don't know how to start a website, so I didn't. I don't know how to start an online course, so I didn't. I didn't realize the power that I actually had if I put new stuff into my brain. And so once I started doing that and started reaping the results, I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And I stopped using I don't know how as an excuse. And so ebook, crappy, terrible ebook became the foundation for my first online course, which launched on February 16th of 2015. And we did just under $4,000 in our first week with a launch list of 220 people, most of whom I knew. But within about 87 days of that launch, we'd done $100,000 sales.
Wow. So that was kind of my next question, but you kind of already answered that. Basically, I was going to ask, like, did you have a proof of concept? But that was your proof of concept, writing that ebook and kind of, getting that out there, selling it, even the one-on-one stuff, because I mean, I guess you find out that there's a need for that particular skill set, and you were able to teach that one-on-one. So that's really cool that you had that proof of concept.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that's what I had done. Because everybody talks about, you have to prove the concept or validate the idea. I didn't even know what that was. I was just like, yeah, people keep asking me to teach them. And so I guess people want to know. But even when I launched the website, I was like, nobody's going to want to learn this. Why am I even bothering? And I said, I give this 6 months. When I started in November of 2014, I was like, I give it 6 months, because I had gotten myself into the mindset that I don't finish things. I start things, but I don't finish things. And so many people are in that mindset. They can get the ball rolling, which a lot of people think is the hardest part. And in many parts of my life, starting is the hardest part.
Yep.
But I just thought I'd seen so many things kind of fizzle out. Like I was really gung ho. And then when things got hard, I used it as a reason to turn around and go home. And fortunately, within 6 months, things had become so successful. It was like, okay, well, I don't have to, I think by the 6 month mark, I think it was it was right around 6 months, April of 2015, I decided to stop proofreading freelance for income, because I didn't have to anymore. I went to New York for a week, and I think we made like $18,000 or something while I was traveling in New York. And so I was like, hey, I told my clients that I got on vacation. And then when I got back, instead of saying, hey, you can send me work again, I was like, hey, I'm retiring.
That's awesome. That is
really
so cool.
pivotal. Yeah.
So how many courses are you running online now? Now I know you've got multiple websites. I know that, but you also have multiple courses within each website. So how many courses total are you running now?
Yeah. So we have our original one, which is the one that's on WP Courseware. That is the transcript proofreading. And that's what the only course I ever thought I'd have. But then we last year, just exactly a year ago almost, we launched a second course called General Proofreading, because people were asking for it. And then I'm a partner with Transcribe Anywhere and Sculptschool.com. Both of those have online courses. Transcribe Anywhere has 2 courses in general and legal transcription. Both of those are on WP Courseware, and then all of Sculpt School is on WP Courseware. And then I've got other stuff, like we just launched Work and Home School in January, which had to be built on Infusionsoft, unfortunately. But
wow,
I love WP Courseware. I love it, and you guys' service is impeccable. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been so fun watching you. You're like our favorite rock star customer. It's like every time I think of like somebody that's just totally successful, I think of you, and it's just been encouraging for us too. It's inspiring. It's so cool. We got to build something that, it's cool to really hear your story, because we were able to just have kind of the vehicle for you to take you from, where you started and to where you are now. And it's really amazing to see that. So, did you take the same route? Because you said you have another course online. Did you take the same route? Did you do any type of proof of concept with that, or did you just kind of know you already had the list built, obviously, so you were able to to promote that, which makes things a lot easier because you kind of have a platform to launch yourself out. But did you do any type of proof of concept there or anything like that?
It was just people have been asking and asking and asking, and I kept saying no, no, no. For whatever reason, people were asking for it, and I was saying no. I was saying I never. They wanted a general course. They wanted something that wasn't technical, like the court transcripts or the legal transcripts. And so they wanted to just do general proofreading with books, and I wasn't well versed in that. So what I did was I partnered with two people that were contractors for me, and like my office manager, my blog manager, and they were both freelance proofreaders. And so I partnered with them and I said, hey, if you help me build this course, you can each have 5% of the revenue. And that's how it became a course, is because I had those people helping me build it, and they're awesome. And so it was kind of just, we built what people were asking for, and we launched an automated webinar funnel. We used ClickFunnels for that. And that course, we did $100,000 in 7 days. So wow. It was, yeah. And I think our list, forgot how much our list was at the time, but I think the first day, it was just an automated webinar workshop. I've never done it live, which blows me and many people away, because everybody says, Russell Brunson in the ClickFunnels community says, for example, that you have to do a webinar like 50 times live before you can ever automate it. And I've never done a live webinar.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah, not for this course anyway. And we got into the 2 Comma Club in like 5 months with that funnel, and it's pretty crazy. So we're remodeling it actually for the 1 year anniversary. We're going to roll out the second version, but nice. It was just basically proven because people were asking for it. And I think, you know, in this community, everybody hears like, if people are specifically asking you for something over and over again, it's becoming an annoyance because you keep having to say no, then you need to stop saying no.
Yep. Wow. No, that's cool. So tell me, like, I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but I want the viewers to hear this. What was your revenue after the first year and then year and a half with Proofread Anywhere?
So let's see, the first year, well, it took us 15 months to get to 1 million from the launch of the course. Yeah. Wow. So we did a 1 million. To date, I lost count. It stops mattering after a while. I think we've done over 4 million now to date. So wow. It's been over 3 years and 3 months since we launched.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That is so cool. That's encouraging. It's so encouraging. So when you launched your course, did you have the mindset like everything has to be perfect, I've got to get everything just right? Or did you have the mindset of, you know what, I just need to get it good enough, MVP, let's just get this thing launched? What were you thinking when you launched?
That's a really good question. When I wrote the ebook, I thought, this is all you need to know. This is all you need to know. And because I just sat down for a whole weekend straight and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. It ended up being like 30 pages, 12-point font, Microsoft Word. Like, it was abysmal, the product. But I was like, this is all you need to know. It's great, you know? And so I felt proud of it and I got it out there. And then like the questions started rolling in. And then there was some people that were unhappy with it. And at first I was like, what is this? And like long list of questions. I was getting annoyed, but then I was like, wait a second, I shouldn't be annoyed with this. These people are telling me exactly what's missing, where all the holes are in my product for free. I mean, they paid me to take this course and then they're telling me what's wrong with it. So I know how to improve it. And so that's the way I look at feedback now. But I had the mindset now, not to be annoyed. I mean, yeah, it's going to feel annoying, but just like take a deep breath, let it roll off, and know that you're not going to know where all the holes are in your stuff and like until you let somebody fall into it. And you have to have the humility, which is also not hard or not easy as humans, to be humble about, our work, our life's work or whatever, to know that you don't know it all. You can't just say, I've been doing it this way for this long, or this is all there is to need to know, and just dig your heels in. Like, I used to be a really stubborn person, but now I'm a lot more open-minded because I've seen what being more open-minded and less stubborn has done to grow my business. So I remember that. I had a similar mindset when I first started with launching plugins. We'd get support questions and, sometimes we'd get hammered by some people, and it's like, I would get so irritated and sometimes I would bite back. And then I learned, I'm like, I can't be doing that. Those are my customers, number one. And number two, just like you said, they're finding holes in your product, and it's just room for you to improve. And so, I think it's just one of those lessons that entrepreneurs have to learn. It's just, you kind of got to take the good with the bad. And like you said, just let it roll off. But yeah, I remember those days. It's pretty comical, actually. Yeah, it's funny to look back, and I use that analogy all the time. It's just, you just don't know where those holes are until you let people fall into them. And it might hurt. You might fall into some holes. And I learned just how not that great of a proofreader I was, because my practice materials still had a ton of errors that I missed. And so that was tough too, because like having to go back and redo some of that stuff, and eventually hired somebody else to do it. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was like, oh man, like this is terrible. This is bad. But then, it gives you an opportunity to be real. And it actually helps with marketing too, because you can come on like a Facebook Live or whatever and be like, guys, I'm not that great of a proofreader, but I was still successful. So what does that mean for you? Because some people will use it as ammunition. Like, why am I paying for this course that has errors in it? And they didn't really realize, hey, if I'm successful without being perfect, you're going to be successful without being perfect.
Yeah.
You're not perfect either. Right. And so some people kind of got a little haughty, horsey about it and stuff. But one person in particular, I remember, was really, with our second course that came out, there were errors in it. And she was just like adamant, like, I shouldn't have paid money for this. This is errors in it. It's just like ridiculous. And she's like a grandmother of like 6 kids. So maybe a little crotchety. I don't know. But we hired her as an intern, and we said, hey, maybe it'd be nice to me because I could be a client. You're taking a general proofreading course to learn how to proofread for people that do what I do. And so when you're going through this course and you're finding errors, are you going to get mad when you do that for other people? Because I'm a course creator. So what happens if you find a job with another course creator and you're just mad at them that there's errors in it? Because I'm not any different than them. I might have a better eye for error than you're going to find fewer errors in my stuff than you'll find in these other entrepreneurs, probably far fewer errors. But are you going to get mad if you're getting mad at finding errors in a course, and yeah, it's a proofreading course, so I get the irony there, but treat me like a client. So that's why I brought her on as an intern. And I basically said, you can work off your course fee, proofread our entire course, update this. We gave her a whole long list of things to do. So it became a win-win, because it kind of grounded her, like, oh, I see, Caitlin could be a client someday if I stop being such a jerk. Which of course we didn't end up hiring her because her attitude really never improved, but it was just kind of a lesson for everybody involved. And it was good to be able to write that situation, because people did not expect for me to be like, hey, come work for me, when she was that rude. It was good show of my humanity. Was it easy? No, but and I think all of my team was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, just trust me, and it all worked out.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, and I think I don't know if it's cultural or what it is, but like I know it's changed today from when I first started. Like when I first started, it was everything was so proper, and you couldn't just show emotion on your video, and if you messed up or you sneezed on your video, you had to cut that out, edit your video. I mean, that kind of thing. And it's like now it's like show that you're a human. And I really appreciate that. I love that. So are you selling any other type of digital assets, services? Are you consulting? What are you doing now? I mean, aside from your courses, obviously.
Yeah, I've got some ebooks. I do offer consulting, but it's not, I don't like exchanging time for money, even if it's a lot of money. So
yeah, because it's time, right? Yeah, it's time.
Yeah, my time has become, so I said, after a while, the money stops mattering. It really does. You just, you're going to have enough, and that's all you need. You don't need a ridiculous amount. And I still use coupons. I still shop at Aldi. Like I still do all the things.
That's awesome.
I'm still that person. And so it really, to me, is not about how much money I can make. Like I knock on wood, will never be one of those people who coaches other entrepreneurs. I think I dabbled in that a little bit. Because everybody's like, well, how did you start your online course? And people kept asking me that. And so I started an online course about how to start an online course. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why? Because it's just way too much work. Because as I learn more stuff, I'd have to, like, all of my course content would become obsolete, and I'd have to update it constantly. And it was just too much for me to do. And so I eventually just stopped teaching that course altogether. I did launch a mindset course, which that's a little bit on the back burner right now. Turns out it's like extremely hard to sell mindset courses to people with mindset issues.
I saw that on your website, and yeah, I was gonna ask you a little bit about that. I had a question about that. Actually, my question was, is it all about the money? And I know you talk about the mindset of money on that course. I saw that.
Yes, the money mindset transformation. I do still use that. We're actually using it as part of like a sales funnel now. We were selling it, but then we realized, you can still buy it, but we're using it now as more of a, hey, here's a free gift during a sales funnel, because what it does is it empowers people to know that they're in charge of earning their income. And so if they go through that workshop, their mindset about money changes and they're less blocked about investing money in the online course that would be a good fit for them. So instead of
Yeah, it's so
selling
funny.
it,
I I have that, that same mentality. I see people come in and, they want to, get the cheapest shared hosting, and they want to get, a free demo for our plugin and stuff like that. And when I get it, people have, don't have a lot of money to invest in the beginning, but I think the mindset that people have is that when they're spending money on software and plugins and hosting, they look at it like as if it was some sort of it's like an expense. It's not an investment. And so
right.
it's really an investment into your business if you really think about it. And that's because that's going to be your moneymaker at the end of the day. I mean, if you're making $200K a month, I mean, what's $40 a month for some sort of SaaS product online? It's a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah, especially if you're going to use it. And I mean, to be completely honest, and I had that mindset of I thought it was all spending money. And so, I mean, you see all these competitor products out there that take a percentage of your stuff, and you have to pay this like $200, $300 a month fee to host. And it's all and I was like, I'm not paying for that, because I was convinced it wasn't going to work, number one. But that was one thing that drew me to WP Courseware, was that it was just like, you pay for the support, but you pay for the premium plugin once. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. But then I'm so glad that I did, because I like using it so much more. And I've dabbled with the other things. Like my husband has a course that he uses Kajabi on, and I just don't like it. I've used Teachable before. I don't like it. I've used Thinkific before. I don't like it. And so what started out as a decision with a poor mindset of like, oh, I don't want to pay $300 a month for software, turned out to be a great decision.
No, that's so cool. So you mentioned earlier that you hired staff. So obviously you grew your courses to the point where you had to kind of scale up your business. So tell me about scaling up, and how did you know it was time to scale up and start hiring people?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. And I've spent quite a bit of time reflecting on this, especially because I just moved into a brand new house last week, and
congratulations.
The business did not crumble while I was doing that. I worked like a total of 2 hours last week, because I just have a team in place that takes care of everything. And so the 2 hours that I did spend was just replying to email, delegating, things like that, just absolute necessity stuff. I didn't have any calls scheduled. So I was away from my desk all the time, like mostly like on my phone, checking emails and stuff, and voice texting with my office manager and things like that. But it was really hard at first to delegate, because in my mind, I, again, had this mindset of, if I can do it myself, why should I pay somebody else to do it?
Right.
I did not see the value in delegating. I did not see that in order to make more money, I needed to expand my team, and that even if they didn't do it quite as well as I could do it myself, or quite as fast, the time that I now had, because I didn't have to do those things anymore, would allow me to make more money. And I mean, people look at the expenses that we have, and I think we pay out probably between $30,000 and $40,000 to contractors and employees every month, which seems like a lot. And I know it could probably have more on my bottom line if I didn't do that, but I would also have a lot more stress. I would have less free time,
right.
And a bunch of my people would be out of a job. So, but it was email at first. The thing it was those things that were like, this is not the best use of my time. And so the first thing that I offloaded was, because I would pride myself on being able to respond within like 1 hour, and people were so impressed by that. And initially that got me a lot of trust really quickly with the people that were coming through my funnel, and through my introductory course, email course that we did, was that I actually answered the emails. I asked them to respond to the emails that I sent them in the autoresponder. And when they responded to me, I responded back to them. And that just like blew everybody's minds. But I was like, how do I do that without me actually doing it? But after a while, we had students go through the course, and I hired people who had gone through that process to work with me. And so to this day, everybody that works in our Proofread Anywhere support team has gone through one or both of my courses. And it just makes it so much better, because they've had a lot of the same questions, and they've been through the whole funnel. So they know the whole process. They've been through the course. They can answer questions, and they answer as me, which is a big deal, because they answer just like I would. I write out canned responses, and I teach them, the office manager teaches them now, but initially I taught how to answer the way I would. And so we still have that very personal touch, and all the emails come for me. I mean, autoresponders come for me, even though they're not really for me. I wrote them once upon a time. And so there's still that personal, like I get to talk to Caitlin whenever I want. She's available, because I've trained clones essentially as close to cloning as I can get, really.
That's so cool.
Email was first. And then about a year after we launched the course, so February of 2016, Ben and I were gearing up to go on a 14-day cruise, and we realized like that's not going to happen unless we have somebody steering the ship. No pun intended. So I love ship analogies. I, for some reason, always gravitate towards using ships and water and stuff like that. But so we were going to go on this 2-week cruise, and so I was doing an interview, much like this one, with a success story, and I happened to mention in passing, like when we were not recording, that I was looking for somebody to help, and I didn't have any inkling that she might be interested, but she was always so helpful in the Facebook group and stuff, and in our student Facebook group. And then she wrote to me like this long email after and expressed her interest in helping, and she's like, I know I don't really have any experience, but I was like, you're a super fan. You know, like, and trust me, you've been through the funnel. You're my most skeptical student ever. Like, she would write me a long list of questions, and I would write back to her every single time. So she was like the perfect, and she just had become this like tremendous success story. And so I brought her on as my first like kind of office manager, office assistant. So she started with taking over a lot of the email, and then eventually just learned, and she was like a sponge. She just learned so much stuff and was able to just do a ton of stuff. And now she's working for an even bigger blogger who's been in the industry even longer than me, because I referred her. That was stupid, but she still works with me. She's awesome. So she's full-time with that blogger, and I don't have enough stuff for her full-time, but maybe one day I'll bribe her. But she's not, some people aren't motivated by money. Like, I could probably offer her like $100,000 a year to come and work with me, and she probably wouldn't take it, even if it was double what she's making at the other place. But anyway, some people just aren't motivated, just by money, and that's fine. But just being able to, anything that annoys you, anything that you're like, oh, I dread it, you don't feel like you have to do it yourself. Sometimes I still think, oh man, I just got this webinar script back. I got to put it all into slides and separate it all out. I'm like, no, I can have other people do that, and then I can put the finishing touches on. Like, I always have other people look at things before I see them. So like all the junk can be clear, all the weeds can be pulled and things like that before I even see it. And that just makes the time I spend on it that much shorter, really.
Yeah, no. And so that kind of leads way to, tell me about the lifestyle that your online business has been able to afford you. I mean, obviously you scaled up, you hired people out. You kind of have I wouldn't say that they're totally evergreen. Obviously you said you have to update them from time to time, but I mean, you're living a different lifestyle than you were, back in 2012, right? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, back when we started the blog, I got fired in 2011, started the blog in 2014, said I'd never earn more than 40, 50,000 a year. Just thought I'd be a proofreader till I was 80. And, if you love that, great. But proofreading, although I was really good at it, the thought of doing it forever was just like, meh, like I wouldn't want to do it for free forever. So it's not like that kind of passion, but I really liked it and really enjoyed it. It came naturally to me. And now I just moved into a really nice house that I custom designed and had built.
Nice.
We started leasing a Tesla Model X in December. It's a dream car that I read in my journal recently that I wanted to get like from 2 years ago. It was actually right before the South America trip. I had written in my journal, I was like, I really see myself, having this Model X I didn't even say Model X, I just said Tesla. And then building a house. And now here we are in 2018. It's May 2018. And I have both of those things, and I'm working, probably anywhere from 4 to 10 hours a week right now.
Wow.
And have a lot of time to do what I want to do. And I get bored, that's when I work, because I like it, but it's definitely a different lifestyle. Not something that I ever thought I would have. Because I saw my family business fail. My parents split up. They fought over money all the time. I always thought money was going to be a constant struggle because that's what I grew up learning. And there was never quite enough of it. There was always debt. And my mom was like, never have to depend on a man, make your own money and all this stuff. Like, I just learned so many things. And she always said, money doesn't grow on trees. And I would always say, I want to grow up and live in a mansion. She's like, well, you better have be able to hire a maid. And she always like kind of talked like it was not going to happen. Like,
Sure.
oh, just keep dreaming or whatever. And now all of those things are real, and I never thought they would be. And it happened in a really short amount of time. That's the power of learning. You learn new stuff, you do new things, you get different results.
And you got to hustle. Yeah. You're definitely a hustler.
You hustle, you do the things. So there's like a saying, you have to do the things that most people are not willing to do. So you can have the life that everybody wants, but nobody's really willing to work for, yeah, that's what it really comes down to, is you have to be willing to do the things that most people aren't willing to do. Spend the time. I was working 14, 16-hour days in the first year. I was burnt out. And so that's a good sign to delegate, is when if you don't do the work, it's not going to happen. But it's so freeing when you have a business that's growing, even when you're not the one growing it. And that's, I think, the true measure of success in business, and why so many businesses fail, because they don't delegate. They think, oh, I can just do it myself. Why hire somebody else? And yeah, I mean, you asked about like scaling up. There's only one way to scale up, and that's, you cannot go alone. You can't scale a mountain alone.
Yeah, that's the saying. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far,
go together.
Take somebody with you. Yep. Yeah. No, totally agree. So what would you tell the person that's in a place in life where, they've got a day job, or maybe they got fired like you, or, maybe they want to start something, but they just aren't sure where to start or what to do, or what would you tell that person?
Well, I would definitely, don't be by yourself all the time. That was the thing that I struggled with a lot. I was like, I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to take any courses. I didn't want to read any blogs or success stories or listen to podcasts or anything like that I just didn't, for some reason, I just was so closed off to things outside of what I knew. And I was like, oh, that's not going to work. It's like when Ben said, oh, this person made such and such amount of money that I thought was an astronomical amount of money, 130 grand in 4 months. I was like, yeah, no, that's a scam. No way. And just like completely shut myself off to it. And so I would say, get outside the box, realize that you might be living inside a box, and that the box is like made out of cardboard, so you can elbow your way out and see, whoa, I was looking out of this box through this tiny little hole, and this whole world exists, and there's possibilities everywhere that I just couldn't see. I couldn't even see the possibilities inside the box because the box was dark, and so if you open the lid, you let the light in, then you're going to see all the possibilities that are inside the box with you that you couldn't see before. But then when you take your elbows and your fists and just punch the box and destroy the box, and you just realize what else is out there that you can do. And then start seeking out people who are doing what you're doing. And that's actually the reason why I started my podcast, the Work At Home Heroes podcast. There's so many business podcasts out there that just feature people who are like where I am now, right? And just like me in the beginning, I couldn't listen to stories of people who were like me now. It was deflating to me. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to get there. So I started Work At Home Heroes podcast to showcase stories of people who are working at home successfully. And they started less than 2 years ago. So most of them have gotten started in the last year or less. And they're making $4,000 or less a month. So very doable, very like life-changing amounts of money for a lot of people, very realistic.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of realistic success stories out there. And I just needed to fill that gap. And so, we interview people that are beginners instead of like the superstars, which, I mean, superstars are valuable too, but that's why I like that you guys still have my success story up there with all the original numbers. For our first launch, what is it, like $11,000? And I'm really glad that you never updated that, because I think that that's going to speak to people who are just getting started and saying, hey, I could do $11,000, couldn't do $11 million, but I could do 11,000. And that's the thing, is it starts with that little bit of amount of money. For me, it was like, I just want to be able to replace my income so I don't have to proofread anymore. And I did that. And I'm like, okay, if I can do this. And it's just like that with my students too. Like they learn, and that's why I started working on school. So they start with proofreading and they're like, okay, I can learn this. Like they realize the power that comes with learning, putting new stuff in your brain, right? They learn all this stuff and they're like, what can I learn next? And it just snowballs, snowballs. And then you realize all these things that I said I couldn't do, and you start doing those things anyway, what happens? Like your entire life can change in a very short amount of time, just like mine did. And it's not a pipe dream, even though that's what I said it was before. Like if I saw myself 4 years ago, if I watched this interview, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it would just like brush it off. But now it's just like, it's not magic. It's not luck. It's just, you take actions and you get results and you don't give up. And a lot of people who think that they've failed at something never failed at all. They just gave up. They gave up. They hit like obstacles and they're like right up against the tree, and they're seeing this tree and they're like, I can't go anywhere. And they just take a step back and they see, oh, I can just go around this tree. It's not a reason to just give up and go home, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even as an entrepreneur, I still have my ups and downs, and it's like, I've seen graphics on Facebook and Twitter, where they have like a roller coaster, and it's like, 1 minute you're like, yes, I'm rolling, I'm a high roller, and then the next day it's like I'm failing. It's I still at times get that. It's just entrepreneurship is definitely a roller coaster, but I think, like you said, you just have to keep pressing on, take action, don't stop, don't give up. You're going to have bad days. Everybody does. But you just have to pursue and keep going, keep that focus straight ahead.
Bad days are not reasons to give up. And I always say the only way you can fail at something is if you just stop trying. And you're never like, I was not a natural marketer. I was not a natural writer. I was terrible at all of the things when I got started. But just by doing them, I became a marketer. I used to say I hated marketing. I was not a marketing person. I don't do that. That's not me. And then I just started doing the things, and I realized, hey, marketing doesn't have to be this slimy thing, this pushy thing. It's just, it's like my moral obligation. If I have something good that can change lives the way proofreading changed my life, it's my moral obligation to share it with as many people as possible. And so when I think people think of marketing as pushing, but when you flip that switch in your mind, it's all mindset, right? You think of marketing as giving, and what you have, your knowledge and your skills is something that is worth giving. You have to believe that. So it's really about what you believe about yourself. Do you really believe in what you have to offer? And if you don't, then you got to figure out why.
That's a great strategy. I love that. And it's funny, I was going to ask you, what are you doing for marketing for your courses? Like what's your number one strategy? Obviously, other than, you're selling what you believe in, and that's a great, I love that philosophy. But what are you doing to market?
Yeah, good question. So initially, because I didn't have a ton of capital, or let's just say I wasn't willing to spend a lot of capital, unless I made money too. So initially, I was working with affiliates that got me a lot of traffic and grew my list. And now it's Facebook ads. So I buy more traffic at the moment. And we actually shut down our original affiliate program. We still have it running, but we're not accepting new affiliates for it for the first course. Now we're running all of our traffic to our general proofreading webinar registration. And that's usually through Facebook ads. And we do have an affiliate program for that. But most of our traffic comes from Facebook ads, but we also have a lot of Pinterest traffic because a lot of stuff out there about, making money online features proofreading, and we have just grown a lot of links and we've been featured in quite a bit of media. And initially also I worked with Haro, Help a Reporter Out, and I got some media mentions. And so a lot of my initial traffic came from getting featured on different blogs and stuff like Lebo League, like the financial millennial, I don't even know what they do. I knew once upon a time, but just getting featured on different blogs and stuff, responding to these queries about, looking for interesting ways to make money. I've been in New York Post, I've been on local TV, all kinds of stuff, like just getting my name out there. And after a while, you have enough media, you have this credibility, so you don't need to be everywhere all the time. And honestly, like, so there's some people that are like, oh, you have to be in the media, but just being in the media doesn't mean you're making any money. And so even though there's some entrepreneurs out there that are more notable than me, and you'd think they're making more money, they're not even close. And so I'm kind of under the radar as an entrepreneur. They think I'm just a proofreader. People still write to me. They're like, hey, can you proofread this? Like other entrepreneurs, they're like, they want me to proofread their How to Become a Six-Figure Entrepreneur 6 months ebook. And I'm like, do you even know, I'm not just a proofreader. And so it kind of is annoying that I'm just a proofreading girl. And that's a large part of why I wanted to kind of break into being more of like the work at home expert persona, which is, so I'm publishing a book this year about working at home.
Cool.
Did the work at home school thing with the work at home summit in January, and just growing my brand that way. And Proofread Anywhere is kind of the vehicle to finance all of that at the moment. But it's been good. That's
so cool. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for spending time with us today. It's an amazing, inspiring story. I mean, Wow. I'm blown away by some of I didn't know a lot of what happened with your firing and stuff. And I was really blown away by that. But yeah, thank you for dropping some amazing knowledge bombs and just sharing your story. That's so cool. Where can people find you online?
We can get on my email list at caitlinpyle.co. You can find me on Facebook. You can obviously go to proofreadanywhere.com. You can see all the brands that are under my company umbrella at bcpmediainc.com. Instagram, just Google me, you'll find me somewhere.
Cool. Well, thank you again for joining today, Caitlin. I really do appreciate that. For everybody listening out there, thank you for joining us. Just want to say, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.